Hey, gang. Welcome back to the Nopes. I'm joined by my lovely co host, Highland.
Yeah.
And this is a part of a series that we're doing where Highland had written down a bunch of kind of like piece of advice he'd like to share.
Apparently too many. It's going to take us forever.
Not too many, but we like it because it gives content for us and we don't have to come up with things out of our ass.
Yeah.
One thing we want to do mention right at the top, if you guys ever want to reach out to us at NopeOpePod@gmail.com or comment down below either on Spotify or on YouTube. We always read it. We'd love to hear your feedback and thoughts on the episodes we have coming out and the ones that we've had out already. With that being said, this episode we get into age, kind of the differentiating ages, kind of how we work with people of different ages,
Mhm.
and how sometimes we might judge someone, but we could learn something from anyone.
Yep.
So some fun lessons that Highland shares. And at the very end, we have a really cool, kind of like heartfelt story from Highland that I think you guys should stick around for.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, gang, we hope you enjoy the show. Hey, gang, welcome back to Nopes and Opes. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Highland.
Yeah.
Lance is around. He'll make an appearance at some point. Real quick, we have a new little painting back here.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of want to give like a little shout out. So I was out with my mom for Mother's Day, and in the Peoria Heights where the Clink bar is, they had like a little kind of like Mother's Day kind of like art fair thing. And we were walking through, and there was this artist. His name's Peter, and he just had like some cool paintings and whatnot. And I initially went because I wanted to get some jewelry. I've been thinking about getting some rings and accentuating my style and figuring it out. I don't have any jewelry. And I'm not a tattoo guy. I'm not going to get tattoos. So I thought like maybe jewelry. Long story short, I ended up buying a painting. And it's this one. And I like it. And I'm a very big fan of it. And it looks very kind of like dystopian and bleak, but I find like beauty in it. I don't know why. It's like spoke to me. So I bought it. And here it is.
Yeah, there's a, for me, there's a ton of philosophy there. I feel like that's a super cool conversation. Like what you see and what you don't see, and where you think it leads to, what you think the meaning is. Yeah. No, I like it a lot. I actually just noticed this. But one thing that's really cool to me is the shadows. There's not one light source.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love staring at paintings just because you see, like that's something that you could look at for a long, long time. Well, I think that's true of all art
I
actually.
think that's
Like
the hope.
each time you look at it, you're gonna kind of see and feel something different.
So, but yeah, we're gonna. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the point of our background is, but this is just kind of a fun thing. So you might be seeing this in a few episodes. We might switch out some stuff and whatnot. But
Well, I hope it to be kind of like a traveling art show.
yeah, that'd be
Like just
cool.
kind of
Yeah.
exhibiting different things that we like.
Yeah.
It doesn't like maybe even different pieces. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like
If
there's
you guys
lots.
want to send us your artwork, you can always reach out to us at NopeOpePod@gmail.com, and we'll find out a way to get it here and have it on the podcast.
Oh, how
And
cool would
we'll
that
we'll
be?
give you a plug. You know, it'll be a great way to see if people want to buy it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just saying. Maybe we'll buy it. I don't know. But yeah. So other than that, today we're talking. This is kind of like I think we're gonna do like a series.
Yeah.
We started one episode where Highland was gonna give some pieces of advice, if you will.
Yeah.
And he has a lot written down. We got through the first point, and then the whole entire episode was that one point.
Yeah.
So we might have a bunch of episodes with one idea of a piece of advice and how we interpret it. And I think that's the goal of today's episode as
Well, I think there's gonna be part one, part two, part three. God knows how many. Because I've actually I began this whole process just because I mentioned this in the other one, in the other episode, but it's the end of the school year and kids are graduating, and I just like these kids are going out into the world, and I just kind of want to take this opportunity to kind of give them the advice that I think is most valuable and I think that will be most beneficial to them, because I don't know if the education system has done a great job in getting them ready for what life has ahead. But I just started kind of I started hearing some things and just like watching and listening or whatever, and just being like, whoa, man, this is so relevant or such good advice for
Yeah.
myself. And then I was like, hey man, if it's good for me, it would be good for everybody else too. So just kind of that's the genesis of it. And then two, just wanting to I think I think young people are really struggling and really need some help. And I think we're not necessarily I think in the world, we're looking at younger people and we're saying, "Oh, they have access to all the YouTube and information and things like and kids these days are acting so grown up. Like they're growing up so quickly. And then by the time they get to 18 or graduation or whatever, like we think, oh, they're full blown adults and they're ready for the world and da da da. At least that's what it seems like. And in my world, they are not. They are still young, scared kids that don't really have any idea. Like a lot of the kids that are graduating this year are kind of freaked out and like way more kind of off kilter than I ever felt.
Mm.
And I felt pretty freaking off kilter when I was a kid. And so yeah, there's just a lot for me going on and maybe some of it's just like kind of sad to say goodbye to these kids. And this is just one last attempt to kind of be like, hey, I might say goodbye, but I'm still around if you need me. So
Alrighty. Well, then, what is today's point of advice?
well, this is gonna be a little shout out to my grandma. I think you've heard this one, but I think this is such an interesting. It's a simple phrase. I call my grandma Bama, so if I say Bama, that's who I'm referring to. But she she was a super funny woman. Like she was really short and just full of energy and like just kind of a magical woman in a lot of ways. And I feel really, really lucky to have like my Bama and Bappa were a huge influence on my life. But like Bama, she she just was super witty. Like she'd always have fun things to say. And she always had jokes. Like she was super, super good joke teller. And that's a skill that I just do not have. And I'm not even gonna try to have anymore because I learned my lesson like, Hylan, you are not a joke teller by any means. So luckily we have one joke teller on set and there's no need for me to be one. But so the one thing that she said to me and something that I'm always going to remember, and the reason that I brought this up this time is because last night you were talking about a possible person that you'd be interested in, and you're like, she's only 23, and like right away this saying like popped into my head, and I was like, oh, but and then so the saying is, age is mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. And I think like being an older, like being an OP, I think this is super important just because I feel like in a lot of ways, hopefully that this is changing, but a lot of people like equate age with limitations,
Mm.
right? Like, oh, if I'm this age, then I shouldn't do this or I can do this or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just think like we tend to put such an emphasis on the number that we like take energy away from actually living the life that we want to live. And like in your example, I think, yeah, like that girl might only be 23, but 23 is just a number. It has nothing to do with who she is personally, how mature she is or not mature, like where she's at, like what experiences she's had. And I just think that this is something like really um realize that life life continues on and at one point you're going to be 18, at one point you're going to be 25, at one point you're going to be 40, 50, whatever it is, and like accept that number, like don't fight it too much, but at the same time it's only a number and
Yeah.
there's so much more to it beyond that. And yeah, so that's it. But just I just think that's like for me it's been really, really helpful because I just I tend to think of myself as maybe younger. Maybe not when I look in the mirror. When I look in the mirror, I'm like, "Oh, buddy, whoa, you are looking much older than I thought you were." But like in my mindset, I feel like I'm much younger than the number age.
Yeah.
But and that's been super helpful. It's allowed me to kind of like pursue things like just as an example. um, one of my goals moving forward, like a I'm a decent tennis player, but never like I'm not great by any means. Like I like to have fun, but every year I just join like one or two tennis tournaments, and my goal is to win a 4.0 tennis tournament, which is just like a level.
Like a rating.
Yeah, like just
Okay,
like okay, like this person's 3.0, 3.5, 4.0,
gotcha.
whatever. Like the pros are like 7 or I don't know, whatever. Um, but like the number is not that important, but it's just like I in my mind when I first was like, hey, I'm gonna pursue this. Like not super hardcore, but just like let's just see what happens. Cause I was growing up, I was way too terrified. Like I actually ended up quitting the high school tennis team just because I was so terrified of making mistakes and losing and like that's a whole another story.
Yeah.
But so like as I've gotten older, the nice thing is I just don't care. Like if I lose, if I win, whatever, it's not that big a deal. Like life goes on. And that's been awesome. Like that's a huge benefit of being a little bit older. But at the same time, it's just um like Highland, you're not getting any younger. Like let's go out there. Let's see what happens. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you could repeat, the saying is mind over
Age is
age.
mind over matter.
Age is mind over matter.
If you don't mind, it don't matter.
Don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I can write it down for you if you need.
You should. You should.
No, it's a
Uh,
good one though.
no, I
Like
like it.
put that in your brain. Like it makes a huge difference.
It does. Well, like I've always been someone that I don't believe that just because you get older means you get more wiser. I don't get me wrong. I
Mm,
think there are a lot of older people, or people that have gotten older that have become very wise. But I also think there are incredibly wise younger people that
yeah.
have just had. I think wisdom comes from experiences,
Mm,
and I mean, yes, of course, the older you are, the more experiences you've had. But sometimes there are people that are older that really haven't stepped out of their comfort zone.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, so that's like something that I've always kind of thought about. And in the situation that we were talking about, so this alleged individual wasn't 23, she was 21.
Oh,
And so
even better.
yeah, so basically I'm like somewhat interested in her in a possibility, like, right now Rowan's not looking for dating one. Just out here being himself. But
Riding the wave.
riding the wave. But there have been some interesting conversations with her and she's fun, right? And I was surprised to learn that she was 20, because she acts very mature for her age. And I am a little afraid of dating anyone younger because I know how I was at that age. I was so looking for like settling down and like finding a wife, finding a husband, like, getting married, having kids and whatnot. And now I'm at an age, not, well, sorry, I'm 27, I'm not that old, but like my priorities, like, I eventually want to be a husband and a father and whatnot.
Oh,
But for now, I'm just kind of like, I need to do things for my life and the career I want to have, etc. And so being around those younger people that want the husband, I go, and this is kind of I don't know how to articulate this, but I go like, "You're young, I get it, you wanna be in love, that's fine, but, like, I don't think you know yet what, like, you possibly want because of how young you are." Now, that's not to say, like, that's not true for this individual, but that's what kinda made me go like, "Ah," And also I mean, age I know is just a number, but me being 27, them being 21, for some reason, I felt, like, bad about
yeah, yeah.
it, so
No, I think that's super interesting for a couple different reasons. One, the
I hope this
amount.
person does not find out about this. I really hope that it doesn't come out.
Well, there's a lot of 21-year-olds
There
out
are a lot
there.
of 21-year-olds, but there's not a lot of 21-year-olds that know me and know what I do in my free time.
Well, okay.
So people can put two and two together, but here we are.
Oh boy. Yeah, we don't have to put it out either.
Yeah.
But the things that are interesting, the amount of importance we put on numbers
Yeah.
is crazy,
Yeah.
right? I mean, um, like like I have such hard lines to deal with numbers, and that's kind of blurred like as I've gotten older for sure. But yeah, like just the fact that oh, 21's the cutoff or 22 or whatever. And we do that throughout our lives, right? And then two, just the fact that you kind of put your 21-year-old self and like put that onto this individual,
Yeah.
I think is really interesting. And I think we do that a lot. Like I am super guilty of this. Like
No.
I assume that everybody 18 is the same 18-year-old that I was. And it's like,
Oh,
ooh,
no.
Highland. Absolutely
Different
not,
time.
buddy. Yeah, like what they're experiencing, and it's just it's so interesting because the way that we approach age in this society is, I think, one, pretty limiting, and then two, I think it limits ourselves as individuals, right? And what kind of opportunities we give ourselves and what kind of um just interactions and things like that that we have. So in that regard, I think, yeah, just for me, it's just something that I keep in my mind and just kind of like every once in a while it just bounces around and just kind of like just just to put things in perspective, like just realize it is just a number, right?
No.
There that like don't let that be the end all be all, right? Like, okay, she is 21 years old, but that's only one very, very small aspect
No.
of who that person is as an
Yeah.
individual.
And I get that, and it's like, if you want to talk about like from a dating perspective or from a friendship perspective or whatever, I mean, if Highland was super picky on age, we wouldn't be doing a podcast right now. If you were like, I can't be friends with a 25-year-old, or if I was like, I can't be friends with a 51-year-old.
Well, I did in the beginning. That's kind of funny actually, because in the beginning, yeah, I kind of was like, what the heck, man? Like, why does this kid like in my mind, anyone 25 or younger, that's a kid to me. Like I
No.
like all the time, like I talk to students and I'm like, yeah, like you kids, and they're like, I'm actually 18. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
No.
Like you're still a kid.
No.
Um, but no, I was straight up like, no, man, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, I got my friends. Like, I have nothing to offer a 25-year-old kid, right? So yeah, that actually did go through my mind. Like that was part of the equation for sure.
No.
And it's strange how
At what point
it
do I
worked.
come a man for you? 27 man?
Oh no, you're still a kid. Yeah, you'll always be a kid.
Not until I hit 50 am I like
Yeah.
somewhat of a
Like when you're
man.
introducing me to like your 13-year-old son, I'll be like, yeah,
All right.
the kid's
You're
finally.
finally a man.
No, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the interesting thing in this, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like I think a lot of it is just like how you think about things, but I
I
just
mean, I was also the same way. Like, Highland being 50, like I've always been good with talking to people with older generations because I was kind of raised in a very kind of like older generation set.
mm,
So I have ways to like relate and I have a lot of respect for elders. Like I love talking to people that have like a lot of life to see like if they are wise. And Highland, when we were first chatting, was sharing all of his life experiences, which was what made me so interested.
I shared some.
You shared some,
I keep a lot private
I'm
though.
sure, but
Yeah, yeah.
like your adventures and living in China and teaching there, and then working the oil fields, like even that was like, oh, and you spent time in Italy and whatnot, and I was like, oh, this man has like seen the world to some degree,
Yeah.
which got me excited. But still, with the age thing, I was very like I told my dad, and he was like, "You're sure he's not gay?" And I'm like, "No, he's not gay. Like, it's not some weird like
Like
sugar daddy
perverse
kind of."
way to.
Yeah, no, there was nothing about it. And even to this day, like when I tell people, I used to be self conscious of it, but now I kind of like own up to it, and I talk about it. But it actually has a lot to do with like the purpose of the like
Oh yeah.
being different ages is a huge part of like why this works, right? The differentiating generation and the opinions from someone that's 51 versus
Yeah, I think for me that's really the only thing that we can really offer is because I mean if we're both 27 years old, I think these conversations would be one pretty limited.
yeah.
I think the viewpoints would be pretty similar, and then
I
but
also don't think we would like surprise each. any like
Yeah. Well, and two, I mean, for me, like it's taken me it's taken me legitimately 51 years to get to this point. All of the experiences, all of the failures, all of the kind of misadventures, adventures, whatever, like all of that has contributed to any sort of wisdom or knowledge that I have now. And it's all been necessary to get to this point, right? Like I I'm I mean, it seems pretty obvious to say, but I'm not the same person at 27. I don't even have the ability to get to this level of thinking
Mhm.
or these kind of thoughts or whatever at that age, right? No matter how, like, I think that I've always had a matter of intelligence in some ways, and like different intelligence. Like some in some ways, I'm just like kind of dumb as rocks, man. But in other ways, I have some intelligence, right? But even with that intelligence, it takes just years and it takes
Yeah.
experiences to get to like where I'm at now. So, and I feel, I mean, super blessed in one being at the stage that I'm at right now, and then two, like just having the ability to kind of even even just the chance to sit down and have these conversations and share like a little bit of what, like even like I like just the fact of like sitting down and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna give my advice on things." I think that's a crazy opportunity and something that I don't want to kind of take for granted. I want to fully be appreciative and take advantage of that.
Okay, so one thing that I do want to make mention of dealing with age, something that I experienced that I don't know if you did. So when I got out of college, I was trying to find work. And one thing that kind of like is a unfortunate reinforcement, and we actually had talked about this a little bit when it comes to like teaching and the pay and like the years of
Mhm.
experience and all that stuff. That was a big thing coming out of college, like trying to find value for yourself and pitch it to people, but they would look at it and be like, "Well, you haven't worked long enough in this industry
Mm.
or you haven't had enough experience," right? And I think that's one of the unfortunate things that people do is they limit people based on their age. Like they put them in a box because it's like there's no possible way you could be this educated or this smart or this wise because you've only been alive for 23 years or 21 or 25. And that is an unfortunate thing because there are some incredibly brilliant and very smart, even like 17-year-olds that are just like graduating high school that have these brilliant ideas, but we will limit them because we're like, oh, but you haven't experienced life because you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, a couple like a couple things. I think one, I think that's freaking brilliant. But two, I mean, whether you like those or not, like a lot of those are kids on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like 17, 18, 19,
There are legitimately like
freaking
18-year-olds
brilliant.
that became millionaires
Yeah,
because of them, buying a stock and selling it.
yeah. So there's that. And then two, I think one of the things that has kept me coming back for this podcast is the amount of brilliant things that you said that have kind of rocked my world. In both negative, like some of the things you've like blown up my ideas, and I've been like, "Whoa, what the heck? Like, where did that come from?" Like, and it's been awesome. Like even even the times when I've just been totally wrong, I'm like, "Dang, like well done." Like that. Like I mean, there's been some brilliant moments that have been captured for posterity where coming from, like a kid, well, that I consider a kid.
Yeah.
And then, so there's that. And then the last thing that I'll say is I constantly need to remind myself, because I think I said this on the podcast before, but as adults working in schools, especially, like, I think there's this mentality where you where you think you're supposed to know everything, like you're supposed to have the answers, and
Right.
um, if they come to you with a problem, like you have the solution, whatever. And I work the whole gamut. So I'm at the high school, and then I work with like kindergartners, right? And every freaking day that I get to work, I am taught something just brilliant. like by it doesn't matter who it is. The other day, there's a third grade kid that I work with, and like I walked out of the room, and I had like a little bit of a like just like some tears were like forming in my eyes because I walked out of the room, and before uh like we were just trying to build him up a little bit, and I was like, "Hey buddy, like the progress that I've seen, like just I'm so proud of you. Like you've done an amazing job this year." And then we were talking and stuff, and he's like, "Well, what?" And I just gave him some examples, and I just said, "Actually, buddy, like you've taught me more this year than I've ever could have taught that I could have taught to you." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, like you've taught me some amazing things." And I listed off like two or three things throughout the year that I learned from him. And he was a little bit on the spectrum, so he didn't quite understand, but he was like like kids on the spectrum, like their reactions can just be priceless because they're so genuine. They have
Mhm.
no ability to fake anything, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of kids. So he's just like, "I taught you things." And I was just like, yeah. And it was just such a cute, like genuine, like real connection conversation. And I just walked out of there, and I was just like so like that was one of those moments that where it just fills you up.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that deplete you throughout the day, but that was just a super wholesome, positive, awesome conversation with a kid. And he was just super amazed and like really proud of himself. And he asked the other teacher, he's like, "I really taught him things?" And she's like, "Yep." And like as I was walking out, right, I heard that. And I just walked out, and I was just like, it was just magic. But yeah, those things happen all the time. So I think it's really like to your point, it's easy to dismiss and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this kid, he's only in third grade, doesn't know anything. Like I
Yeah.
know so much more." But if you're willing to and you pay attention and you actually let knowledge
Yeah.
come into your life, you can learn amazing things from
Yeah.
anybody.
And it's unfortunate because I really don't like when people do that. Like I had an instance where when I was in Minnesota, I got to do like a 48-hour film festival, right? And so we all got together and we were in the writers' room and we were trying to come up with a like idea. And I came up with a script idea and whatnot, and everyone liked my idea. So, like my idea won. It was like validation. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can write funny stuff. I can write things that people wanna see. Hell yeah." And then, when it came to writing it, someone was like, "Oh, we'll have this guy write it." And not pointing to me, some other dude. And I was like, I just came up with it." And the lady said to me, whenever I was like, "Well, he's a writer." And because he wrote for, like, them. And I just was like, "Lady, you don't know if I'm a writer or not. If you don't give me the chance, I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly. Like you gotta like, come on. Give me the chance to show you that I could do this." And I was very, very upset. And there was too many writers in the writers' room, and my script that I had and everything, it just slowly was torn from my vision into what we made. And like it's a 48-hour film festival. You take what you can get, and we ended up making something that was cool based on my idea, which I was very happy about. But like people will do that where they'll be like, "Oh, but like you don't have experience. You don't
Yeah.
know, you haven't." And it's so like debilitating. You're like, "You understand, like I'll never get that shot if you don't give it to me."
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That leads
So,
in like I'm just looking at the list, and you just checked off like three of the points
oh,
on the list.
well,
But I'm just gonna transition to one. Like we can continue on this, but I think like just I'm just gonna add one because I otherwise I think this is gonna be like an 18-part session for sure.
yeah,
But one other thing that I have listed here, and I think it's super important, is that um everyone can teach you something. And I think it's super, super, super important to keep that in your mind because I think even like in the world today, right? Things are so divisive,
Yeah.
and we're like, I have no time for that person. Like, I don't want to talk to that person. I don't. That person offers me nothing. Like that person's my enemy,
Yeah.
and I think we can be super dismissive in that way. But two, just the age difference. I think we can be like, nope, that person doesn't have any. Like obviously, I have more knowledge and more experiences and da da da. And I think it's just super important, especially in the world today as it stands. But just in general, everyone and every moment
Yeah.
in this world can teach you something. But again, you have to be willing,
Yeah.
right? Like I think that's going to be a through line through all of these is
Yeah.
like you have to be willing to accept the value, to
Yeah.
accept the knowledge.
Well, and I'm not only willing, but able to like really think about it. Like, for
Yeah,
instance,
that's
like,
true.
so I have that mentality. I truly do. For
You
instance, like
absolutely, we would not be friends if you did not.
thank you. So like with stand up, right? There are stand up comedians that I don't like their jokes. I don't necessarily think they're funny. They're not my sense of humor,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that they are bad or that they're not good at the craft. And I will ask them, not necessarily like, hey, give me some advice, but I will ask them questions about like their writing process, like what they think, and they'll give me feedback. And I take everything with a grain of salt because I'm
Mhm.
like, hey, this is what works for them, but it might help me come up with some ideas of trying out new things, right? Like I had a really interesting conversation with one of the stand-ups on Thursday um, about like how she goes up there and this is her word. She goes like, I basically go up there and I'm rambling. Like during open mics, I'm just rambling. Like I have a concept, I'm gonna ramble through it, and I'm gonna find the jokes, and then I'm gonna write them down, and then come time when I actually do like an actual set for like a show, then it'll be like thought out and whatnot. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty smart. Instead of like putting so much pressure on it, like she doesn't mind going up there and like if she bombs, she doesn't care. She's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to figure this out." And like if there's a funny thing or a joke in there, I'll hear it, right? And so I was like, "Oh, that's actually really cool."
Oh,
And,
that's brilliant. Yeah.
and like her sense of humor, at least the things that I've seen on her open mics, I'm like, "Oh, that's not my sense of humor." But also like we're two completely different people with different
Mm.
backgrounds, like she's a queer woman. She jokes a lot about like her life as a queer woman. I can't relate. I'm a straight white male who's bald.
Mhm.
Very different life.
Yeah.
But not to say that like I learned something from her because I was willing to
Yeah.
pass her one might be like, she's not good at this. She's not getting headliner gigs. Like, what does she know? And it's like, dude, even people that have been struggling and haven't had any success have lessons that they've learned based on like all the failures they've had or the experiences they've had. And if you are not willing to one listen and two like really think about it.
Mm.
Because another thing, if she gives me this information and she says like this is what I do and I go like that's it. I got to do that. I'm going to do it. That's also a disservice to yourself. Like you can't just fully follow someone else's input.
Mm.
Like you can learn something,
Oh man.
but you can't just blindly follow them.
Yeah.
So
Again, like I think that's a mic drop moment. I think yeah, those are all really really good points. I think for me, like that's been kind of the key to getting me to this point is I've always been interested in others and like what they have to offer. And I think I've always been like open. I've always found people fascinating, right? Even the people that I think are like just maybe my enemy or I don't think of people as enemies, but like people that I think are like antithetical to my existence,
yeah,
I still find super fascinating and can still even if I talk to people and I find that they are polar opposites to everything, it just helps me to reinforce like, nope, this is what's important to me.
yeah,
This is what I want to pursue. This is what I believe in. And it's just I feel as if that now at this point in my life is paying off hugely in dividends. But yeah, like the amount of knowledge and kind of positivity in my life that I've gained from people that I never ever thought could offer me anything. Like just as an example, one person in the oil field, he was, I don't know what they're called, but he worked with like the the aluminum, like that you put on the roofing, like the side, like the sheeting or whatever,
Okay.
and he could like bend it, and he was like he um he was he was very much an alcoholic, and he would drink probably 20 to 30 cans of beer throughout the day.
Ooh.
And towards the end of his life, he was drinking more and more. But I would, so I would go work in the oil field, and then I'd come down, and he had a shop. So we lived up above, and then he had a shop, and he would just be in his shop all day long. And I would go down afterwards. And like when I was younger, I would just think like, nah, this guy, he's not as successful. He drinks too much. Like there will be plenty of ways to dismiss him, but like one, I was just thankful to have a house in the oil field. That was huge. And then two, like as I began to spend more and more time with him, I just realized like, holy cows, like this dude, he would say things and it just would rock my world. And then at the end of his life, I went to visit him in the hospital. And uh, oh man, this might be a tear moment. But I just I went to visit him, and at the end of in the hospital, and he had taken out like his. I didn't realize that he had dentures or whatever, and so his face was kind of collapsed and everything. I didn't really recognize him, but like this moment was he his family was there,
Mhm.
and I just went to give him a hug because he was on his deathbed and he was going to pass pretty quickly, and um he just he just said like, thank you for spending time with me. And I just I just said to him like, thank you for allowing me to spend time with you. And like that moment was like, I'll never forget that. Like that was um like we were just two totally different people, but we shared like a whole lifetime together in those couple months, and it was just awesome. I don't know if that necessarily correlates exactly with what we're talking about, but it's just like he he taught me more in just a couple months. Yeah, it was just awesome. But it's just
I do think it relates because
uh
I think it has to do with, yeah, I mean, people are judgmental. I have been a very judgmental person. And
I judge the heck out of people.
and we can look at someone that has a drinking problem or anything like that and be like, they're not going to give me any value. They make poor decisions, whatever. Um, but through your experience of just like, spending time with him and, him allowing you to spend time with him, you learned a lot, which I think
Yeah.
is a big part of how just because someone's aged differently doesn't mean that you should judge them. You should allow people to possibly influence you or learn something, but also at the same time, like keep your intact and who you are.
Yeah.
So, but with that being said, I think that's it.
Oh man.
So. We appreciate you guys watching and listening. If you ever want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at nopeopod@gmail.com. With that being said, see you in the next one.